Hello, friends! Welcome to Adventures in Food with Howard. If you've been here before, thanks for stopping by. If this is your first time here, then welcome. My shout out for today is Living with Lee. Her easygoing style makes her enjoyable to watch. The link to her channel will be below in the description box. Beef stew is one of those classic dishes where every family has their own recipe, and they're all good. So I'm going to make for you my version of beef stew. I don't claim that this is more authentic or it's the best, I just know it tastes good. Here is what you will need. A 3 to 4 pound beef chuck roast cut into 1 to 1.5 inch pieces, 2 or 3 large potatoes peeled and cut into 1 inch pieces, 3 large carrots peeled and cut into large dice, 2 celery stalks chopped into large dice, 1 large or 2 medium onions chopped into large dice, 2 to 3 large cloves of garlic that have been sliced, 1 to 1.5 cups of frozen peas, 2 tablespoons tomato paste, 1 cup red wine, 5 to 6 cups of beef broth or water, 2 to 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 3 to 4 tablespoons of flour, 1 teaspoon dried thyme, 2 bay leaves, and salt and pepper to taste. This may seem like a lot of ingredients, but most of them are ingredients that you probably already have in your refrigerator or pantry. The first thing I do is to wash, peel, and chop my vegetables and then get them ready for the stew pot. After you have peeled and cut your potatoes though, make sure that you put them in a bowl of cold water to keep them from turning brown while they're waiting to be cooked. I always prep my vegetables first and then prep my meat afterwards. That way I don't have to wash my cutting board in between. Next, I take the chuck roast and cut it into large chunks that can almost be pulled apart at their natural seams. Once the meat has been separated into several large chunks, you'll want to remove any large chunks of fat that are visible and easy to reach. But don't remove all the fat because a little bit of fat will give the stew tremendous flavor. As you're removing the excess fat, start cutting the meat into 1 to 1.5 inch pieces. Now, it's not going to be possible to make all the pieces of meat the same size, but that's the beauty of home cooking. It shouldn't look uniform and like it came out of a factory. It should look like it came out of your kitchen. Get a large pot with a heavy bottom to cook the stew. Heavy-bottomed pots will distribute the heat more evenly and will allow your stew to cook longer and develop more flavor without burning or scorching on the bottom. Heat the pot over medium-high heat for about 3 to 4 minutes, and when it's hot, add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil to the pot along with the meat. But be careful to put the meat in a single layer in the bottom of the pot. If you crowd the meat into the pot or put the meat in more than a single layer, then your meat is going to steam and it will not develop that delicious brown crust that's necessary for that delicious flavor that we associate with a good stew. You may need to brown your meat into 2 or more batches. My pot is large enough that I can get most of the meat in the pot in a single layer. The few pieces of meat that won't fit in the pot, I keep to the side. Now, contrary to popular belief, not every single piece of meat has to have a brown crust. So long as the majority of the meat has been browned thoroughly, it's perfectly alright to have a few pieces of meat that have not been browned. It will not affect the overall taste of the stew at all. Make sure to salt and pepper your meat, and after it's been browned on all sides, remove the meat from the pot and set it to the side for later. There should be some oil on the bottom of the pot. If not, add enough oil so that the bottom of the pot is coated with a thin layer of oil. Add your onions to the hot pot and saute the onions for about 5 minutes or until they're translucent and starting to brown around the edge. Make sure to salt and pepper each ingredient as it goes into the pot. Clear a spot in the bottom of the pot and add your tomato paste and allow it to toast in the pot for about 1 minute. Add your flour to the onions and tomato paste and stir everything together thoroughly for about 2 or 3 minutes. This is to make sure that you cook the raw taste out of the flour. Add the red wine to the hot pot and using a metal spoon or tongs, scrape off as much of the brown bits on the bottom of the pot as you can. These brown bits are known as fond and will give great flavor to the stew. Next, you'll want to add the beef stock to the pot and bring to a boil. I'm using water plus enough better than bouillon to equal 6 cups of beef stock. Add your browned meat along with any juices that have come out of the meat back to the pot. Add the bay leaves and the dried thyme and bring everything to a boil. As soon as it has come to a boil, turn your fire down to a simmer and allow your meat to simmer for 1 hour uncovered. You want this to simmer uncovered so that the liquid in the pot can reduce somewhat. Another common misconception is that the liquid for a beef stew has to be beef broth. In the past, I've had to use chicken stock when I found out at the last second that I didn't have beef broth. I've also used plain water as the cooking liquid in my beef stew, and I have gotten excellent results with both. So don't think that you can't make a good beef stew without beef stock. While beef stock will give you the best results, chicken stock and even water will still give you a delicious beef stew. After simmering for an hour, the level of liquid should still be covering the meat. If it doesn't, add enough broth or water to bring the level of liquid to the top of the meat. Now is the time to add the carrots, celery, potatoes, and sliced garlic. Raise the heat under the pot, and when the pot comes back to a boil, lower the temperature under the pot so that the liquid barely simmers. Cover the pot with a tight-fitting lid and let the vegetables simmer in the pot for about 45 minutes or until the vegetables are tender. Once the vegetables are tender, remove the bay leaves from the pot and discard them. If the gravy in your stew is not thick enough for your liking, you can add 2 or 3 tablespoons of cornstarch slurry to thicken the gravy. If you do add the cornstarch slurry, make sure that the gravy comes back to a boil. The final step before serving is to add your frozen peas to the simmering stew and allow them to warm in the hot stew for about 2 or 3 minutes. Serve this beef stew in big bowls along with big slices of a crusty bread for dipping into that delicious beef gravy. I hope you enjoy this. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can be notified of future videos. Also give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I love hearing from all of you. Thank you for watching Adventures in Food with Howard. I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.